The manager's voice cut through the air, like a knife. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Every pair of eyes in. The crowded bank turned toward him. Michael Carter, a tall black man dressed in a tailored navy blue suit, stood, frozen for a moment, clutching the folder of documents he had brought with him. He wasn't here to cause trouble, wasn't here to waste anyone's time. He had come for one simple transaction. Yet, the tone in the manager's voice, the suspicion in his eyes, and the quiet whispers around him made Michael feel as though he had just been branded guilty of something he hadn't even done. "Excuse me?" Michael asked, his voice calm but firm. "I just told you I'm here to finalize an account transfer. This is my bank. I have every right to be here." But the manager didn't back down. His arms crossed, his tone sharpened, and he gestured toward the security guard at the corner. "We don't tolerate suspicious activity. Please leave the premises." Michael's stomach tightened. Suspicious activity. All he had done was request a meeting with the branch staff to authorize a large transfer. The documents in his folder were legitimate, signed and stamped, but he could see it in their eyes, the tellers exchanging uneasy glances, the customers staring at him as if he didn't belong. His skin color had already made the decision for them. The security guard stepped forward, his hand brushing against the holster on his belt. Michael took a deep breath, swallowing down the sting of humiliation. He could have argued, demanded to see corporate policy, but instead he picked up his folder and quietly walked out. The glass doors closed behind him, and with them the muffled laughter of two tellers who thought they were far enough away not to be heard. Michael sat in his car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. He wasn't just angry, he was disappointed. Disappointed that even after everything he had worked for, after every barrier he had broken, the first thing some people still saw when they looked at him was someone who didn't belong. He closed his eyes and exhaled. Then, with a calm determination, he pulled out his phone 7 minutes later. The same bank manager was called to the front desk. His secretary whispered nervously, "Sir, there's a man on the line. He says he's the owner of the bank." Confused, the manager picked up the phone. On the other end, Michael's voice was steady, clear, and unmistakably authoritative. "This is Michael Carter. I'm the CEO of Carter Financial Group, the parent company of your branch. I walked into your bank today, and instead of being treated like a customer, I was treated like a criminal, effective immediately. You and your entire staff are relieved of your duties." Silence filled the office. The manager stammered, "Wait, what? You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm very serious," Michael replied. "I've given people chances. I've built this company to serve every community with respect. And today I was reminded of why I started it in the first place. If my own staff can't see past the color of my skin, then they don't deserve to serve my customers." By the end of the day, word had spread like wildfire. The staff would smirked and whispered as he was escorted out were now packing their belongings in cardboard boxes. Customers who had witnessed the incident stood outside, shocked, murmuring among themselves about what had just happened. But the story didn't end with firing. Michael could have stopped there, satisfied that justice had been served, but he chose a higher road. A week later, the same branch reopened with a brand new team, diverse, trained, and compassionate. Michael himself stood at the entrance that morning, greeting every customer who walked through the door. He shook hands, smiled, and reminded them that no one should ever feel out of place in a place meant to serve them. The same community that had seen him humiliated was now seeing him empowered, not just as a CEO, but as a man who turned pain into purpose. Parents pointed him out to their children, telling them, "That's what strength looks like. That's what integrity is." Michael knew he couldn't erase the sting of what had happened that day, but he also knew something greater. Sometimes, humiliation is just a stage for a bigger victory. He didn't just fire a team of people who failed to see his worth. He built a new foundation on respect, equality, and accountability. And as he looked around at the fresh faces smiling behind the counters of his bank, he knew that his story wasn't just his own. It was for every person who had ever been told they didn't belong, only to rise up and take their rightful place at the head of the table. Because and true power isn't about revenge. It's about rewriting the story so no one else has to endure what you endured. Michael had been kicked out of a bank, but he walked back in as the man who owned it, turning rejection into one of the most powerful lessons his community would never forget.